Hey, good morning, wonderful people. How are you doing? It's another Wednesday morning. If it's Wednesday between 8 and 9 in the morning, you know it is the Financial Clinic, where we talk about issues to do with money. So as I always tell you, tumeweka bench inje. We have wiped the bench. Mkae mmoja mmoja, msisukumane. If you have any financial issues that we need to talk about, that's why we are here. Now, last week there was a very interesting article in the papers about mobile borrowing. A lot of apps have come up where you can instantly get a small loan or a big loan, and a lot of people are getting loans through their mobile phones. But what was interesting for me is that the report said that 65% of the people who borrow money using apps are men, largely in their 20s and early 30s. And I thought, what? And it went on to say 10.7% of those who borrow are defaulters, but somehow they still get more loans and more loans and more loans. And I thought this is something we need to talk about. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, looking at the mobile lending apps and how it can become a trap for you. And if you're already in that trap, how do you get out of it? If you're not yet there, how do you avoid it? So I'll be introducing to you my guest in the next short while. But before I do that, I'm curious to find out from you, what's the most amount of money you've ever borrowed from a mobile app? What's the most amount of money you've ever borrowed from a mobile app? Share that with me as we get into this discussion. 20316 is the SMS line, and the WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. This morning, it's all about the mobile lending apps and how Kenyans have gone crazy on that one, especially men. How do you avoid that trap? Because it can be a trap in your life. It can get you into a hole that's hard to get out of. I have friends who borrow from this app to repay that app, and then borrow from that app to repay this app. It can become quite a trap. So how do you avoid it if you're not there? If you're in there and you're stuck, how do you get out of it? In studio with me, I have Amos Ngahu. Amos Ngahu, personal finance coach, financial consultant. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Jamal.
Watu wamekataa kujibu hii swali. So I'll throw it to you. First of all, have you ever borrowed money from a mobile lending app?
Yes.
What's the most you've ever borrowed?
It was about 7,000.
7,000?
Yeah.
So you're doing better than me. I think the most I've ever borrowed is 40K. My friend.
40,000.
Yes.
I like what you've done with the words there.
And then I did a show with you. And you gave me a strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, without knowing. And I was able to get out of it. Nowadays, unless I really have no other option. I'm sure you saw the report in the newspapers last week.
Yes.
Citing that 65% of the people who borrow from mobile apps are men.
Yes.
And largely mid-20s into early 30s.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about that?
Well, like you said, you saw what you did with the words, eh?
Which ones?
It's a trap. Those apps are a trap.
Yeah. Maybe I should have been a rapper in my other life.
Yeah. It's interesting. Even with as I associate with other people, there's someone also in the organization. They had done a research, and they said 9 million Kenyans have been lended.
9 million.
9 million Kenyans.
Yes.
That's more than half of the working population.
Wow.
And 3.6 million are already listed in CRB.
3.6 million. That's over a third.
Yes.
Of the borrowers.
Yes. And some of them are not going to pay. And you've not been reported by one app, so they are quite a number. And like the governor was saying, some of them don't even check your CRB status.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a cost to them.
Oh.
So they just want to see if they can access. So I think it's a very serious issue, and I actually feel that the government should come up with a policy actually to protect the consumer, because when you find in an economy like this where it's Google actually protecting us. Now, Google have actually come up with very, very restrictive measures for you to set up a lending app.
Oh,
that's Google.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
And you see, that is an initiative that should be done by the government. So it's quite an interesting place to be as an individual, because it will actually deny you now in future.
Yeah.
If, for instance, you're looking for a job in a financial institution, they check your report. If you want to borrow genuinely to do something else for an investment purpose, it becomes a challenge. So it's important for us to address it in that particular way. But most importantly, for your own health, in terms of borrowing.
Yeah.
Because you see, I'd rather have one loan that I did an investment with worth about 2 or 3 million than have these two small loans that you keep getting messages that you've not paid, and they are amounts that are ridiculously low.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same concept with, you know what, I've always said that money, debts are like small children.
Yes.
The smaller they are, the more noisy they make.
More attention they
Yes, so it's quite an issue that we need to really address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's more men who borrow than women?
Hey, boy, child, we are doing badly, Bwana. And you think about it, when you see the way men we've grown up, depending on how you are brought up, the main points or the main understanding of your money is that we are there to impress. We are making money to impress. Right from school, you wanted your parents to be proud of you.
Yeah.
So you did your best. You go to school, you go to campus, you get a girlfriend, you will even borrow to buy her lunch.
Yes.
But her, she won't borrow. You get. And then once you start working, you want to impress her or you want to get married, you buy all the things that you want just to make her happy. And some of these things you've not even been asked for. You just want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
You get kids, now you want to impress the kids. So we end up living other people's lives, you know. And even as Christians, I think we are doing badly.
Oh.
Yes.
Why? How so?
Because we only remember Philippians 4:13. That's the only part we remember. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And we forget you cannot borrow your way out of poverty.
Ooh.
You know, so what we forget is the verse 12, just right on top
Just
of
before
13.
that, yes.
You know, I have learned the art of being content, both in plenty and in lack. I have learned. The
It's a
key word,
process.
yes. So the 13 comes in 4. Now, for now, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yes.
So if we can learn the art of contentment early enough, I don't have money today. What can I do? Do I have to borrow? Isn't he who provides? You know, but now we want to live a life that is above our means, which is very costly, both to our health and long-term finance, our long-term finance status. Yes.
There's a text here. This one says, mimi nimewahi kopa 5K kutoka Tala, kurudisha ilikuwa shida mingi.
Yes.
And just like you said, it's small amounts. But then the other thing I've always wondered, and which baffles me, is many of us, when we borrow from these apps, we don't look at the fine print. We don't consider the ridiculous amounts of interests we have to pay.
Yes.
To pay. Why? Why is that so?
It's interesting because as an individual, I've come to understand that most people are not ignorant per se. They just make an assumption.
Oh.
You know, there's a difference between assuming something and being ignorant.
Yeah.
And for me, there's someone who gave me some small equation to do. And we can even do it with you mentally. So if you take 8 plus 7, it makes it 15, right?
Yeah.
If you add 1, it makes it 16.
Yes.
And if you add 4, we have 20.
Yes.
Right? So it's 8, 7, 1, and 4.
Yeah.
So that's 20.
Yes.
Now, quickly do this math for me. You remember the one in between there? The one that we added 8, 7, plus 1, plus 4. Why don't you, instead of adding 1 there, you deduct 1? So what will be the end result?
The end result would be 19.
That's an assumption. But let's do it together. So if you add 8 plus 7, it's 15.
It's 15.
Minus 1?
Yeah.
It's
14.
So 14 plus 4?
Is 18.
So where did the 1 go to?
It's a miracle.
So what normally happens is when they're selling you the loan, they sell to you the 19, and you assume you will have 19. But remember, there's a negative sign. So if you've done math, there's a difference between -1. There's a 0 between -1 and 1. Okay? So if we did the math of 8 plus 7, we ignore the 1 and we just add 4, then we'd end up with 19. So when we are taking these loans, we are looking, what is sold to us is the convenience. You know, so if you are just looking at the convenience, you are not seeing the negative side that will eat into your plans. And it's very costly because we don't see it. And that is why now when we get hooked to it, it becomes a way of life. And that's why Warren Buffett says that the chains of habit are very light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. You understand? So you've gotten used to it, and very few people even understand that they're overspending. You've gotten used to it until when it's too late, when it's affecting your health, when it's affecting every other decision that is coming your way. So we have to be very intentional. What is sold to us is the convenience, but the cost is very expensive.
Listen to this text. This is very interesting. As I was asking people how much, what's the most amount you've borrowed? This lady says, from Tala 12K, from KCB 16K, from Mshwari 17K, from Timiza 4K, from Okash hata hiyo sijui
what
2K.
Just repeat that again. Let's hear
from
that.
Tala 12K, from KCB 16K, Mshwari 17K, Timiza 4K, and then Okash 2K. And then she says, kulipa ni matanga mpaka CRB, but a year later I'm done with those things. Don't get me to the threatening SMSs. And he says KCB are the worst, followed with Tala. It reaches a place where Tala starts praying for you. They send SMSs like, we pray that your financial situation will change today.
It's a good place to be.
Wow.
You know, they say those who pay their debts are soon forgotten. So she might want to get to borrow from Tala so that they always remember in prayer.
But this just rubber stamps what you're saying. You get into it and it becomes a habit. Yeah. Because now, even from where she has borrowed, it tells you most likely she was borrowing from this one to pay the other one. Yeah. Because why borrow from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different platforms?
I'm telling you, these things are so convenient. Because think about it. The other day they published the most expensive digital lending apps. And the top one totally surprised me.
Which was the top one?
Okoa Stima.
Oh yes, I saw that one. Okoa Stima.
At 40-something%.
What?
You know what it means for me to lend you money at 40% in a month?
That's per month?
Yes. So if I lend you a G right now, you're going to pay me 1,400
after a month.
Yes. It was in the papers.
Yes.
So are you seeing how ridiculous this is? Because let's take a scenario, and then now let's look at the other side of convenience. You've gotten into your house and you need to probably iron. You're going for a meeting. I'm coming for an interview here in the morning. Na kuna stima zinapotea pap, and you don't have something on your account. What do? You borrow. You understand? But now you don't know the terms. You know, it's very interesting. I would rather sit in the darkness and ask myself, or even have a candle and ask myself. I mean, I need to think. You know, because it's quite expensive.
Costly.
It's very costly. People don't understand how costly these things are, and most of these funds, these are venture capitalists who bring in money and they just lend it. Yeah. You heard what the CBK governor said. These guys are just Shylocks.
Wow.
Yes. Because they don't follow proper procedures. Yes.
Okay. So for those who are in, how do they get out? For those who are not yet in, how do they prevent themselves from jumping into this hole that can sometimes be like a bottomless pit. We'll talk about that shortly. If you're watching us or listening to us today, would you be honest enough to say, hey, me, I'm right in the mix? Yeah, I borrow from Paul to pay Peter. And when Peter shows up, I look for Andrew to sort me out or to bail me out. I know people who, this is how they live life, even providing for themselves. Yani, ni kama sasa hii ni job. If you're that kind of person, share with us. The reason why we are doing this show is to get you some help and get you back on your feet again. My good friend Lemayan Mwauba, how are you doing? Lemayan says, hey, mshwari watanifunga. Deni ya 2150. Haki these apps. Itabidi nilipe. Lemayan, lipa deni. Waswahili wakasema kukopa ni harusi, kulipa ni matanga. Oh my goodness me. This one says, I have never... and I have no plans to borrow. This conversation is really interesting. May God help our nation. Pastor James Kelvin here from Uthiru. I tell you, these things really suck, my friends. 30K from Tala, 5K from Opesa, 8K from Branch. KCB and Tala blacklisted him. On top of that, he has a Fuliza of 7K. I tried advising him to stop digging the hole, but in vain. So please kindly advise him. That is sad, sad, sad. I'm wondering, let's begin with those who are already in the deep. Mm-hmm. How do you get out? Because you see now this has become like it's like a source of income. But you forget you have to pay after 30 days.
So what do they say? I borrow for a living.
Yeah. Professional borrower.
Soon you'll find courses being offered.
I'm telling you.
We offer borrowing. But it's interesting. And I think it runs deeper than what we can see.
Oh, really?
I don't feel like the worst thing that could happen to us is being listed in CRB or having these kinds of debts. Mm-hmm. And this is to encourage everyone who has loans that this is not the biggest problem you have.
Oh.
Look at our nation today. Is it a month ago that guys were dying because of drought? It's about a month or 2 months ago, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, I think I'm right.
Yeah, yeah.
And guys were saying, rains should come, and we prayed, and we did pray, and God answered us.
Now they are here.
What is happening now? Now we are complaining the water is too much.
People are dying.
And I don't feel like God has a problem giving us money. Mm-hmm. But are we ready for it?
Okay.
In fact, I would be more concerned. Because sometimes being in CRB and being in debt, it could be good for you, my friend.
What do you mean?
It could be good for you. Because other apps will check out and not give you more money.
They'll help you to stop digging the hole.
Always look at the positive side. So if you don't qualify in other apps, that means things could be working for you.
They're protecting you from yourself.
Yes. Sometimes it's always good to have that, always see something positive in everything that happens. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, when you're in these debts, it's important to ask ourselves, before we get out of them, how did we get ourselves there? Mm-hmm. If I borrowed, like he's saying, 2150, what did I use the money for?
Yeah.
And sometimes you find yourself with no cash, mm-hmm. and probably you don't have anything, and we can understand.
Yeah.
But it becomes a cycle. It should be more of something that is coming from inside that wants to take away and to stop borrowing in these apps.
Okay.
Because if it doesn't come from a desire inside, then there's nothing we can do about it. You will keep borrowing. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the hardest part about dealing with personal finances is when something becomes a habit. Continually, it becomes your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I've ever seen guys, all of us, let's say we are paid on 5th. I've ever seen guys on 4th, they are busy checking their accounts.
Yes.
And money will come in tomorrow, but you're thinking probably accountant aliguswa.
Akatuma mapema.
Alipitia mali tu, akasikia tu upako, akasema wacha nilipe watu mapema. And they will always be checking. And those are the guys who will tell you, see, money is coming tomorrow, just give me 2K, I'll pay.
I'll give it back to you tomorrow.
Yes. And if you look at what that money is going to do, chances are it's not going to solve an emergency. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because very small scenarios, what very small percentage is serving an emergency.
Yes.
So if we can be able to understand the why of the borrowing, then we will easily get out of it. Yes.
Wow. Listen to this one. Good morning, Pastor James and Amos. I'm really loving the discussion. I was there. Na yangu ilikuwa weird because it excited me to see I have been added a higher loan limit. You remember we were talking about that?
Yes.
A higher loan limit to borrow. Equitel, Mshwari, KCB. But after a lot of insight from the financial clinic on Wednesdays, I'm really getting better, and I thank God.
Wow.
I can't remember who I hosted, and they were saying the problem with many of us is we borrow without a purpose.
Yes.
And so even when it comes to this mobile lending apps, because it is so instant, we look at our limit.
Yes.
My limit is 30. You borrow that 30.
Yeah.
And then you start figuring out, by the way, 30, nitafanya nayo nini? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
When you've heard of the saying, cash is king.
Yes.
So when you're walking in it, you are the palace. My friend.
You're carrying the king.
Yes. Wendo kusema.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. Money simply excites us. Yes. Have you ever noticed, and this one happens, I don't know whether it happens to my personality, my money personality. I told you with my money personality, if you're in the same room with money, one of us must leave.
Yes.
Yes. Hatuwezi kaa pesa na pesa in one room.
No.
Because it's a money personality. Some of us are spenders.
Yeah.
And what normally happens is someone, if you give a spender, they've been in a place where they don't have cash, and you give them a lot of money, they get so excited. It even interferes with their appetite.
What?
Yes, because it's you are hungry, you want to eat, but you're also planning to do something else. You want to go buy this, you want to do, the excitement alone. So I cannot blame anybody just because you've seen an SMS pop up that your new limit
has been increased.
Why don't we have that negotiation? If you've already listed me, why don't we have that negotiation? And I tell you, I'm going to pay your loan because they call you. Never ignore their calls.
Yeah.
No, just pick them up. Oh, you've called me. Okay, so I'm going to pay that loan, but can you reduce my limit? They won't accept.
Really?
Yes. They will not accept. They will tell you, oh, it's a process, oh, it's a management process, oh, it's a what.
Yeah.
Yes, they won't.
They still want to keep the carrot before you.
Yes. But you see, these things are convenient. Again, they're selling you convenience.
Yes.
They're not selling you the negative side. So money itself has capacity to change you and transform you completely, you and your family. So you need to be careful, So when something pops up, if there was a way to block those texts, please block them. Yes.
Yeah.
Flee from the devil, my friend. So for me, I feel like it's more of a very intentional decision.
Yeah.
That whatever come may, I'd rather even change my line for a while. Yes. Let me change my line for a month. But I don't know how these guys get you into contact in social media. And there.
So you still register the new line.
Yeah.
Watakupata. Hata mimi nimekopa branch 7K. I really want to pay them, but imekuwa ngumu. I have decided to pay mdogo. Sahi nimebakisha 4,000. Hope stajiingiza matatani. That's Eva all the way from Kericho. So is there a process you can give us?
Yes.
Yeah. Through which somebody can begin a journey of getting themselves out of this habit of every month you've borrowed. It's like every month you borrow from 3 apps, 4 apps.
Yeah, you that one you can easily do. Actually, I think that's the easiest, because like now the person, assuming this person had not come out, the one who has 12K, 16K, 17K, 4K. So this is a total of this is what. Help me, when mtu wa mathematics.
I mean into history.
So this being about 28 plus 17, that's what 30, 45. So assuming this person has a debt of 40,000, and these are how many apps? These are 5 apps.
Yeah.
And they're wondering how to get out of it.
Yeah.
I want to assume they're employed. Let's just use for
case. They're employed, yes.
They're employed, and I say they probably make 50K, but the debt is 40.
Yes.
What they can do in the first month, take the 40K, the total 40, and pay everything.
from their 50K salary.
Yes, from the 50K, just pay the entire amount. But then ask yourself, you've been left with 10,000. How much more money do you need to survive for that particular month? But remember, it has to be less than 40,000, the one that you've already paid.
Yeah.
So if you see you need an extra, the total expenses can come to around 35.
Yeah.
Then borrow 35 this time from the
Instead
same
of
apps
40.
instead of 40. So the second month, pay the 35.
Yeah.
Okay? Then borrow less, borrow 28, borrow 25. So every month,
You keep reducing.
yes, you keep reducing. And then give yourself time. It can take even a year, but go reducing slowly by slowly. You see, as long as they see you pay, but as long as you don't now borrow more
Yeah.
than you've been paying them.
Yeah.
And then eventually you pay the most expensive ones, and then you're able to delete those apps after you've finished. Yes. So just give yourself. Don't use this habit of paying. Let's say I owe them 40. This month I pay 5. The other month 5. The other month 5.
That's more expensive.
No. You see, you will not. It's going to take you longer.
Yeah.
But you still have the same amount of money running forth.
But I think it's also expensive because
Yes.
if you don't pay the whole amount within the 30 days,
There's interest.
there's interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's good to run it that way, and also to keep yourself in books, because sometimes they tell you yes, lipa pole pole, but they can easily list you because you've not finished your deadline of repaying the entire amount. Yes. Yeah.
What does being listed mean? How does it affect me as an individual? You know, many of us think it's not a big deal. Is it a big deal?
Yes, it's a big deal because they actually list you and they rate you in a way that you're a high risk. A high risk lending borrower, because the effects could be now, especially for young guys, if you're looking for a job in a financial institution.
Yes.
Some of them run checks with CRB. So no matter how intelligent you are and you've already borrowed,
Yes.
always make sure that you're doing right. And also for parents who have their children in campuses, please have this discussion with them. You know, there was a time in one of these universities, I held a talk with one of the parents.
Yeah.
And she told me, I've listened to your discussion. Yeah, my son is very nice. He even opened a bank account. He doesn't borrow. So as we were talking, the son comes with his friend.
Yeah.
So he jumps into the conversation. The mother had said, he doesn't borrow.
Yeah.
Then the guy was like, hey, have you borrowed? He asked the friend. And they were like, yes. In fact, I owe 3 apps. The mother could not believe. What?
Yes.
You know, and they could easily take it casually, but the guy was in 4th year. So if he hadn't cleared, he would be listed. So to him, he was looking forward to work in a financial institution. You've passed every interview. You've done everything right until they run a report for you. You know, and it's like having a bad CV. You know.
Yes.
Yes. You know, and probably they might not give you time to go clear. They look for the next candidate. So it's always good now to consider the effects or how it's going to affect you.
Okay.
Yes.
Listen to this one from Kisumu. Says some of the young people use stolen ID numbers of parents and guardians to borrow from money lending. I got a rude shock from CRB. I was blacklisted. Yeah, a boy used my ID to borrow from branch. I had to pay a whole year's interest to be cleared. I have since chased him away. Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible. Especially, you've never heard of this this saying of parents. Our parents used to be very harsh.
Yeah.
And they become very humble when you want to show them how to use their phone.
Yes.
Now these 2 small techies, now the moment they know you don't understand how to use the phone,
Yeah.
they will borrow. Quickly borrow, take even with your phone. Borrow the money, it comes to M-Pesa. You've trusted them with your M-Pesa number.
Yeah.
You know, or whichever PIN number or Airtel Money, whichever money they are using. They send themselves, they delete the messages. How are you going to know?
So you don't know.
You don't know. You know, and it has to be very, very. He's a good person if they chase them away. Yeah? The other guys would put their children inside to learn their lesson.
What?
Yes.
That's stealing.
It is
They're a
theft.
con man.
If they can do that to you, trust you me, they will do that to their boss.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you,
Yes.
a parent or a guardian,
Yes.
can do that to you.
Yes.
Sembuse a stranger.
Yes. You know, you can actually laugh about it and say ananibeba vifani.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. And it goes back. You see, if you don't teach this young man this lesson early, they will do it. They will do it again.
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, next time it will be millions somewhere.
Yes. Even if it's even nice he kicked that guy out.
Wow.
The other parents who will say, Kababa.
There was an article in the papers that 65% of the borrowers are men, largely between mid-20s and mid-30s. And they're not even borrowing for vitu za maana. It's just things to impress people and stuff like that. And even in today's paper, one of the most searched for things on Google in 2019 in Kenya is mobile lending apps and the interest they're charging and how to download them and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. I have quite a number of responses coming in today. This one is coming in from my namesake Martin. Martin says, I deleted all apps with 60 plus K owed. They blacklisted me, but within 3 months half of the debt is paid without straining much. But ile matisho wako nayo, hey, ni mingi sana. 5 loan apps complete, 3 remaining. Good for you, my friend. Keep up with that plan. I am sure you will get there. This one says, I thank God for this program because niliachana na Tala na KCB. Nimebaki na mshwari ambaye nitalipa soon. God bless Family Radio. But this one is the one that's really hit home. If I can find it. Yeah, here it is. This one is from someone in Mombasa. You say, man, those apps zimeniweka in a tight position now. Almost 10,000 altogether. Niko CRB. And it cost me an employment opportunity last month when it was required to submit a CRB clearance certificate. It is a trap, my friends. Flee from this lust. What do you think about that one, Amos?
Yes, that's true. That's again why we said, you see now his chains now are too heavy to be broken. That is why now he missed an opportunity because of the CRB.
And I'm sure it was a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, because most financial institutions will require that. Yes.
So are we saying it's bad to borrow from these apps?
Well, you see,
are we saying you need to have a plan when you're borrowing? Because if you ask me, there's the other side of the pendulum where these apps are providing a solution that no one else is providing.
Yes.
Who else will lend me 5K instantly? Maybe I have a small emergency.
No one.
You know, who else is offering that kind of opportunity?
Yes.
So are we saying it's a bad thing, or are we saying you need wisdom?
We can't rule it out because some of them can actually, when you look at the convenience, sometimes the opportunity cost may be less. So they can be convenient. But you want to tell me out of 9 million borrowers, all of us took those loans for convenient purposes, to invest or to get into a business that would give you a higher return. So I personally believe they are really not necessary. I don't feel like they are necessary because if it's an emergency, if you look at the long term, first of all, they are not sustainable. Okay. You can't sustain this kind of a lifestyle. It's too expensive. And when we live and look at our annual budget as a nation, we are basically overspending on unnecessary things. If you were to go to every coin of the 2.7 trillion that we run as a budget, when it comes down, the way the government has been running, we have our youth watching. You know, we have all our young people watching, and this is how you can run a budget. So if it is borrowing and you give it a nod and it's just borrowing, when it comes down to the level of the youth, they also feel like you can actually borrow to do something. And that takes you to overspending. And like I said earlier, very few people know that they're overspending. Yes, because even our consumption from 2015, it has never been below 102%, according to the economic survey per capita. You know, you cannot sustain it. So let it be very clear. Even if you're borrowing for consumption,
Yeah.
we cannot sustain it. It's not an issue whether it's moral or immoral, because money in itself is not bad, it's not good.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to ask ourselves, how can we sustain this? You know, and I just want to share one tip I feel can help people in the long term.
Okay.
Because in the short term, probably some people don't have jobs, there's a lot of pressure,
Yes.
and men will continue borrowing.
Yeah.
That's not going to change.
Yeah.
Because what happens to us as men, when you cannot provide, you feel less of a man. And it's not like women. You know, women have are more enduring when it comes to money, and they will talk about it, and it's very easy to help a woman.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
If you the other day we were going down to church and it starts raining, and a lady carrying a baby was crossing. All other guys are crossing. It's very easy to help a woman.
Yeah.
But for a guy, sometimes is that stage that you are in. You are so concerned about the finances, you're so concerned about the school fees in January, so you can be there,
Yeah.
and you're not sure whether this salary will fit to take your family out this December. So we understand that, but in the long run, can we have a solution that we can start working towards?
Okay.
And in a very simple way, let me just give an example of an actual client who was a teacher, and you can imagine how much teachers were paid, and towards not a teacher, a driver. He was a driver. And you can imagine how much they've been paid. And they're about to retire, so they've worked for quite a number of years.
Yeah.
So every per diem, every extra tip was given by the boss. He would put it in a circle. And he locked his expenses. He was living in Shags, got a small house in Nairobi, and every time he would go pay school fees and come back. Every weekend he'd go home.
Yeah.
And trust you me, I was so shocked that the guy has accumulated 7 million shillings
What?
over the years in his circle. Because he chose, let me sacrifice any extra income that comes your way. Anything that comes my way.
Yeah.
By the time he was getting to 2 million, the dividend he would get from the circle, he would pay the entire school fees for his kids, beginning of the year when he gets his dividend.
Yeah.
So what has he done? He's gotten rid of that recurrent expense of school fees. Now, what is he doing with the remainder of the money? So over time, he became comfortable in saving more and more of his salary.
Yes.
So now to a point whereby every time, because sometimes some employers will not allow you to do more than 70% deductions. So after he's been paid, he would now transfer the money back to his circle. Right now, he does not need a guarantor to take a loan.
Yeah.
He guarantees himself.
Yeah.
And part of emotional competence comes in here, that you don't go telling everybody how much you have in your circle.
Very true.
You don't go shouting that I have money in my account, because you know what happens. People will come and tell you, "Ay boss, kuna kashida niko nako." And being Africans, you know by the way, Africans, we overgive. Yeah?
Yeah.
You go abroad, someone invites you for dinner. You have to come, and you don't come with plus.
Yes. And you come at the time you've agreed you will come.
Yes. If we had no plans, ati jemoni kuambia napitia hapo, and you find us taking dinner, we will not open the door.
Yeah.
You know, but as Africans, we're very generous. You know, and one of the things that I've come to understand about emotional competence when it comes to money, if you want me to guarantee you or to take a loan on your behalf, and I don't ask you what you're going to do with your money, what business do I have lending you? I'm not a financial institution. And trust you me, you will pay.
Ask.
You will never ask.
We never ask.
See, you're my buddy.
And the Bible
Say
has
no,
something to say about guaranteeing somebody to take a loan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that's where now emotional competence comes in. You know? So if you can strategically say, yes, I'm in this, but can I start somewhere? Can I start taking that 1,000, that 2,000 that I get from doing something extra?
Yeah.
So you can actually look for those two extra things that you can add up, or intentionally say, I'm going to reduce a certain expense. You know?
Sacrifice.
Yes, sacrifice. And say, and it's a very basic expense, something like what you use on airtime. I remember there was a time I used to spend about 6,000 shillings a month
On airtime.
on airtime.
Boss.
In a year is what?
That's a lot of money, my friend.
That's a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? Let's do it. 12. That's six times 12. That's 72. That's 72. 72,000. So when you're filing your returns in June, you remember that statement you get from your employer,
Yeah.
your income, and you're looking at it wondering, kwani watu waliniibia pesa?
Eh?
You know. And then when you deduct those costly,
Libya.
and when you and when you deduct those annual costs, that's when you realize, hey, by the way, this thing is too expensive.
Yes.
Until I got myself into a package of buying these monthly bundles,
Yes.
that once you exhaust them, you don't
Isha
purchase.
imeisha.
Yes. So it dropped to 2,000. 2,000 from 72 to 24.
Yeah.
Where do I put the difference? Are you seeing small costs that will be very effective in the long term?
Yeah.
So I reduced to that. In fact, when I see there are many calls, I do a lot of texting nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, because it will get the message home.
Yeah.
So that way, it becomes an intentional thing. Because those debts, like I said, those debts are not your worst problem. Your worst problem is that in the next 5 years, you're still, and probably there'll be more, probably you'll be clicking when you get money, probably there'll be more technology. Unakohoa pesa
You
inako-
just think about it.
and it comes, you never. So,
Yeah.
so things will be tighter, temptations will be more.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Wow. So what would you tell those ones who are thinking? They've not been caught into that. But sometimes a situation like this, December ndio hii, my friend. Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Maybe kuna kabonus mahali ulikuwa unategemea and you've learned it will not come through. And you have school fees in January.
Yes.
So you're thinking, you know what? I think for Christmas I'll borrow and then January I'll repay.
Oh, and January has 90 days.
Yes. What would you tell?
As
that
a finance,
individual?
as a
Because I
finance.
can guarantee you that individual is listening today.
No, you see, we cannot stop them. If they want to let them jump in, yes, they will sing. They will sing for us a song
They'll
in
remember
January.
this show.
They will remember.
By the way, alisema nini?
But honestly, what you can do, because there's that temptation. I was giving some people a story and they were thinking my younger bro was very angry with me because alisema nilimwanika kwa studio. And I remember there was a time when we were very young, because we are close, my siblings and I have been very close. And I'm between two brothers and one sister.
Yeah.
So my elder brother and I were very competitive because our age difference and sizes with that when we were growing up. Okay, now he's much bigger. But when we were growing up, the difference was very small. So when my dad would give us snacks, because my younger bro was the smallest, us would eat very fast, enjoy it, and probably you finish quickly. If
Yeah,
it's a
the
cookie
crumbs.
or chocolate. No. We've all been given equally.
Oh, you finish yours first?
Yes, we finish ours first.
Yeah.
But my bro would take a little bite, the younger one.
Uh-huh.
Walk around with it, keep it somewhere.
Yeah.
But us, we've long finished ours.
Yes.
So now you're eyeing his.
Yes.
And the way he would, and you don't touch it because our mom was watching.
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine how at that particular point he was king.
Yes.
He has everything. The temptation is on that. And I up to date I still admire that bit of just holding on to something. Just push yourself and then enjoy it later. If you can pull that in this
scenario.
Yes, in this particular December, you don't have to, stick to your basic expenses. Angalia tu watu wakienda holiday. You just do your normal, do something extra in the house. Look for smaller packages. Then in February, go for that holiday.
Yeah.
Chances are you might save 30 to 40% costs because right now is high peak.
High peak, yeah.
Go to those holidays and people will be wondering, kwani wewe umeingia Illuminati?
My friend.
Well, the guys are hungry, you're going for holiday.
You have money, my friend.
So you don't have to borrow.
Yeah.
No, it's not worth it.
Okay.
It's not worth your peace.